Hello, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the Queen Ahmadiyyah Shakur show. Thanks to those of you who are tuned in on Authentic Black Goddess TV. So let me go ahead and open up this other chat. Please forgive my tardiness. I don't know what's going on with YouTube. I kept getting this message saying try again, something went wrong. Okay. So I'm going to set up this other chat and then we'll go ahead and get started. Hello, Michael. Hello, Miss Natural Candy, J, AV the Great, J Youngblood. Thanks for tuning back in. Queen Conscious, Sonia, some chick named Star, Kaleem Muhammad is Black, Marietta, Charlene, Lisa's Real Spill, African Millionaires of Today, Pride at Bentley is Black, Cutie Tootie is Black, Chaz, Donna Sheriff, Tasha. Hello. Goodness Rated Bo is Black. Akebulon Zane is Black. Leroy. Gaming with Moses. I didn't see the last of that. Hello, Insta Black TV. Valentino, AJ. AJ. Spirit Goddess Shahoya. Tom Lyons. J Love the Queen. All right, almost there, people. Amanda, Desmond, Shay, Lot Wizard, William, Andrell. Okay, people, listen. The thing is, they recently had some more information, some breaking news in the Zodiac case. They say 2 amateur sleuths cracked the code. You see, the Zodiac killer was sending cryptic messages to the police to taunt them for not being able to catch him. And so one of the first ciphers that he sent was quickly translated, right, and decoded. So after that, the next ones were like really difficult to solve. So they just came up with it, and I have it right here. I'm going to tell you what it says in a minute, and I'm going to let you hear the audio from the person that actually was one of the people who solved it. Okay. Okay, so here we go. Hello, Bronze Flat Power King, Sierra, Antonio. Hello, CH464. I hope you had a wonderful Saturday. Yes, I did. Hello, Bert Jr. Desmond. You're welcome for that article the other day. Glad I could help. Oh, no problem, Desmond. Thank you. Yes. I enjoyed reading it. Regina Palmer. I'm Black. Yes. Mark Petty, can't wait till you start roasting Queen. Oh, Mark, stop being your last name. You know I'm Petty too. As you're coming in. Okay, hello, Dan Ruck. Helen. My mods are in the house. Camria, a.k.a. Cece. I hope I said that right. Yes. Camria is Black. Black King 89. Yes, the Truth Queen. Thank you. Davida says, I just watched that on Pluto TV. No wonder they showing it. It's a new thing being run on TV. It's a sign. Yes. Crazy Wisdom is Black. All right, Regina and Marcus and Katong. I think that's how you say it. Let's go ahead and get into it, people. So on tonight's true crime episode, we're going to be talking about the Zodiac killer. A killer who was supposedly, found to have killed 5 people, but he claims to have killed at least 37 himself, okay, when he was making contact with the police via these messages that he was sending them to taunt them, no less. So he says that he killed 37 people. Now, that has never been proven, but there were some other cases that were linked to him that they think he actually committed, okay? He's infamous because he was never caught. All right. Like Jack the Ripper. I think the Zodiac is probably the only killer who's as infamous as Jack the Ripper. Okay. Who also was never caught. So with that being said, let's talk about it, people. Now, the Zodiac killer took credit for several murders in the San Francisco Bay Area in the late 1960s. He was never caught. Now, the self-proclaimed Zodiac killer was directly linked to at least 5 murders in Northern California between 1968 and 1969, and may have been responsible for more. He taunted police and made threats through letters that were sent to area newspapers between 1969 to 1974, before abruptly ceasing communications with law enforcement. Now, despite intensive investigations, no one was ever arrested for the crimes, and the case remains open. The mystery surrounding the murders has been the subject of numerous books and movies, including director David Fincher's acclaimed 2007 movie called The Zodiac, and that movie starred Robert Downey Jr. Maybe some of you saw it. Okay, so hold on just a second, people. Just a second. Okay, so on August the 1st of 1969, San Francisco Examiner, hold on, these pop-ups. Okay, on August the 1st, 1969, San Francisco Examiner, San Francisco Chronicle, and Vallejo Times Herald each received identical handwritten letters in an envelope without a return address. Now, the letter began, "Dear editor, I am the killer of the 2 teenagers last Christmas at Lake Herman." Now, the letters contain details from the Zodiac killer's murders that only the killer could have known. The killer went on to threaten further attacks if the letters were not printed on the front page of the newspapers. Each letter closed with a symbol consisting of a circle with a cross through it, and what would come to be known as the Zodiac killer's tag symbol. Now, the letters also were accompanied by one part of a 3-part cipher that he claimed contained his identity. Now, while Bay Area police departments, with the support of the FBI, all worked feverishly to track down the killer, another letter soon arrived at the San Francisco Examiner. It began, "Dear editor, this is the Zodiac speaking." It also described murders in detail and taunted the police for not having been able to crack the code or to catch him. Several days later, high school teacher Donald Hardin and his wife Betty were able to solve the cipher. And this is what it said. This is what the first cipher said, the first part. It says, "I like killing people because it's so much fun. It is more fun than killing wild game in the forest because man is the most dangerous animal of all." Now, 3 days later, the 4th known Zodiac killing in 1969, murder of taxi driver Paul Stine, the San Francisco Chronicle received another letter after that crime was committed. And this is what it says. Written in the same erratic print as the Zodiac's previous letters, it gave the details of Stine's murder and was accompanied by a bloody scrap of Stine's clothing, part of his shirt. At the end of the letter, the killer mused that he would next shoot out the tire of a school bus and start picking off children as they bounced off of the bus. Now, the Zodiac killer continued his taunting correspondence with Bay Area newspapers, in which he included more ciphers. He also claimed to have committed several more murders, and in fact, he mocked the police for their inability to catch him. Then in 1974, the letters abruptly stopped, although the investigation did not. Now, at present, 4 separate attacks have been definitively attributed to the Zodiac killer. The first confirmed incident took place on the night of December the 20th, 1968, when 17-year-old David Faraday and his 16-year-old girlfriend, Betty Lou Jensen, were both shot to death near their car at a remote spot on Lake Herman Road, on the outskirts of Vallejo, California. Police were baffled, unable to determine the motive for the crime or even a suspect. Early in the morning on July the 5th of 1969, Darlene Farron, age 22, and her boyfriend, Mike McGow, age 19, were sitting in a parked car in a similarly remote Vallejo location when they were approached by a man with a flashlight. Now, the figure fired multiple shots at them, killing Farron and seriously wounding McGow. Within an hour of the incident, a man called the Vallejo Police Department, giving them the location of the crime scene and claiming responsibility for both that attack as well as the 1968 murders of Faraday and Jensen. Now, despite evidence that included fingerprints, McGow's description, the decoded cipher, and a wave of tips and leads, even though they had all of this information, police were still unable to track down the Zodiac killer. Then, on the evening of September 27th, 1969, he struck again, approaching a young couple, Cecilia Shepard and Brian Hartnell, as they relaxed on an isolated part of the shore of Lake Berryessa in Napa County. Wearing a hood and a shirt bearing a circle with a cross symbol, he tied them up before brutally stabbing them, scrawling a message for police on their car door, and then fleeing the scene. He then called the Napa Police Department to claim responsibility. Shepard and Hartnell were both in critical condition but alive when emergency services arrived, but Shepard soon died from her wounds shortly thereafter. Then 2 weeks later, on October the 11th, 1969, the Zodiac claimed yet another life, shooting 29-year-old taxi driver Paul Stein in San Francisco's Presidio Heights neighborhood. As the murder did not seem to fit the Zodiac's pattern, it was initially deemed a robbery until the San Francisco Chronicle received a letter claiming the crime. At least 5 other murders have been tentatively linked to the Zodiac killer, including the 1963 shooting of Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards near Santa Barbara, California, as well as the 1966 stabbing death of college student Sherry Jo Bates in Riverside, California. Now, with descriptions from witnesses who had seen a man leaving the scene of the Paul Stein murder in 1969, police were able to create and circulate a composite sketch of the killer. But despite mounting evidence and the investigation of numerous suspects, the Zodiac killer remained at large. Now, in both the known and presumed Zodiac murders, no suspect was ever arrested. In the nearly 5 decades since the Faraday-Jensen murders, the inability to identify the Zodiac killer has continued to frustrate law enforcement. The mystery surrounding the Zodiac case also continues to fascinate the public and has inspired more than its fair share of theories regarding the killer's identity, ranging from a plausible crackpot, someone who's potentially crazy, just mentally insane, delusional, or who suffers from hallucinations. These also include the claims that he was the Unabomber, Ted Kaczynski, or the convicted murderer, Charles Manson, or that he eventually, moved to Scotland and committed more murders there before finding happiness and giving up his wicked ways. These are all just frivolous claims that people came up with and concocted clearly. So it goes on to talk about the different books and things, right? And the movies that have been told about the Zodiac. But let's talk about the timeline of the killings. Zodiac retired and lives amongst us until he died. Likely, is he a psychopath or a sociopath? That's a very good question. And I'm going to have to say a psychopath. Because as I told you, the only difference is that the psychopath is born without a conscience. The sociopath has something traumatic happen to them during their lifetime that makes them behave that way. I think that the Zodiac killer was a psychopath. And now the question is, was he organized or unorganized as a killer, right? I would have to say that he was organized because, you see, he went out, committed these killings, and he was never able to be identified, even though people got a glimpse of him and they was able to get a sketch. He didn't leave any details enough at the scene for them to definitively catch someone. But he was methodical because he sent these ciphers to the police that they weren't able to solve. The FBI wasn't able to solve them. And for 5 decades, they're finally just now coming up with the gist of it. So he was clearly organized and methodical, okay? Because you know there's the organized serial killer and the unorganized serial killer. And guess what? The unorganized serial killers are usually the ones that get caught with ease because they just, do things sporadically at the spur of the moment. They don't plot out or plan their attacks. They could be driving down the street and just decide, hey, I want to kill somebody, and just go and kill someone recklessly, not even, preparing for it. But the killers who are organized, their span of killing lasts longer. Okay, it always takes longer to catch them, and some of them are never caught. So clearly he was organized. All right. So now let's talk about the Queen. Did you, Breonna Taylor mother, give Cardi B an award today? No, I didn't see that, but that sounds so crazy. I think many, if not most, sociopaths can be changed with the proper therapy and or medication. Crazy wisdom, I don't think so. I absolutely don't think so. Because here's the things. Sociopaths, they don't have a conscience. Okay? They don't have a conscience. And people who don't have a conscience, they don't have remorse. And if they don't have remorse, that means they don't feel sorry for what they've done. They don't feel sorry for their victims. They have no empathy or sympathy. And with that being said, the only way to redeem people is for them to have sympathy and remorse for their wicked actions. And that's just what psychopaths and sociopaths don't have. Okay, now, this is a timeline of the Zodiac, right? So I'm going to talk about the timeline, then we're going to talk more about the messages that the Zodiac left. Okay, in 1969, a letter arrived at the San Francisco Examiner newspaper containing the chilling words in a coded message. The sender, the soon-to-be notorious Zodiac serial killer, who had terrorized Northern California in the late 1960s and early 70s, with a combination of grisly murders and bizarre public letters brimming with horrific threats, demented demands, and mysterious ciphers teasing his identity. That identity has stymied law enforcement officials, professional code breakers, and armchair criminologists alike for nearly 5 decades. While officially connected to 5 murders and 2 attempted murders, the Zodiac hinted he had killed at least 37 victims. After taunting the police and the public with nearly 24 communications, he seemed to have vanished in the late 1970s. But his twisted legacy continued to endure, having inspired 3 real-life copycat killers. Also, dozens of books, TV shows, and movies, including, most famously, Clint Eastwood's nemesis in the film Dirty Harry. Before a chronology of both his murders, both his known murders and several that show strong signs of the Zodiac's hand being at work. Now, in Santa Barbara, this occurred. Robert Domingos and his fiancée, Linda Edwards, were seniors at Lopok High School in Santa Barbara, in Santa Barbara County in Southern California. On Tuesday in early June of 1963, the couple decided to use the senior ditch day to go sunbathing on a beach near Gaviota State Park. When the 2 teenagers didn't return home by Wednesday, Robert's father went to the beach and was horrified to discover their bodies lying together inside the remains of a crumbling shack. The victims both were bound with rope. They had apparently tried to escape, but were shot and killed with a .22 caliber weapon. Robert had been shot 11 times and Linda had been shot 9 times. The killer then dragged the bodies to the shack where he tried and failed to start a fire. Investigators had few leads, but in 1972, the Santa Barbara County Sheriff's Department announced a possible Zodiac connection. The beach killer used Winchester Western Super X ammunition. That was the same ammunition used by the Zodiac killer during the 1968 murders at Lake Herman Road. Now, the Domingos Edwards case also had similarities to the Zodiac's attack of another young couple at Lake Berryessa in 1969. Now, let me tell you something. They talk about several copycats, at least 3 copycats of the Zodiac killer. I'm going to tell you one person who I think was copycatting him was David Berkowitz, i.e. the son of Sam. Because the Zodiac was going around attacking mostly couples. And usually it was couples who were off in an isolated area, in their car or out on the beach somewhere remote by themselves. That's the same thing David Berkowitz, the son of Sam, was doing. He was going around, just shooting people, couples, usually somewhere like Lover's Lane, minding their own business. That's what he was doing. And he was clearly imitating the Zodiac killer. Now, 18-year-old Sherry Josephine Bates lived with her father, Joseph, and was a student at Riverside City College in Riverside, California. And on October the 30th, 1966, she left a note that read, "Dad, went to the RCC library." Now, the next morning, her Volkswagen Beetle was found abandoned in the library parking lot, and her body was lying nearby between 2 houses. She had been stabbed several times, and her throat was slashed. Police found a man's Timex watch at the crime scene, a print from a military boot, and some hairs and dried blood on the victim's hand. Sherry Jo's purse was intact, and an autopsy revealed no evidence of sexual assault. 1 month later, after the murder, the local newspaper and the police department received typewritten letters titled "The Confession" from someone who "I am not sick. I am insane." That's what the letter said. Now, in April of 1967, the newspaper, the police, and Joseph Bates received virtually identical handwritten letters which read, "Bates had to die. There will be more." The notes were signed with a symbol which resembled the letter Z. Now, these happened prior to them making contact or, figuring out that there was a Zodiac killer or someone came forward identifying themselves as the Zodiac killer. In 1969, Riverside police contacted investigators in Northern California regarding the similarities between the Zodiac crimes and the murder of Sherry Jo Bates. Sherwood Morrill, then documents examiner for the California Department of Justice, concluded that the Zodiac was responsible for the notes linked to the Bates case. And this was likely before he started using the circle with the cross as his Zodiac, symbol or whatever, because on the first 2 killings, when he sent the letter, he put a symbol that they said looked like the letter Z. So I find that more than coincidental. So yes, I agree with them that those murders were also committed by the Zodiac killer. Now, the Riverside connection was later revealed to the public by Paul Avery, a reporter from the San Francisco Chronicle. Zodiac then sent a letter to the Los Angeles Times indicating that the killer confirmed the theory that he had killed Bates. So he admitted to doing that. The Zodiac wrote, "I do have to give them credit for stumbling across my Riverside activity, but they are only finding the easy ones. There are a hell of a lot more down there." Years later, Riverside police rejected the Zodiac theory and focused on a man who they said was a jilted former lover of Bates. Now, see, that's crazy. So they started focusing on her ex-boyfriend who was jilted. But the serial killer already said it was him. And I don't think it's a coincidence that the symbol that he left looked like a letter Z, or the symbol that was on the letter he wrote. So in the late 1990s, police obtained a sample of the suspect's DNA to compare with the DNA taken from the hairs found in the victim's hand in 1966. Now, the DNA didn't match, and the suspect denied any involvement in the murder. So they thought it was her ex, and he denied it, and the DNA didn't match him. So there you go. They were about to probably try to convict an innocent person. They had nothing to do with it. Now, 5 nights before Christmas, high school students Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday set out on their first official date together, promising Betty Lou's parents they'd be home by 11 p.m. Shortly after that time passing, motorists saw the Rambler and its occupants parked at a Lover's Lane spot along Lake Herman Road in Benicia, California. Now, they say they were parked at Lover's Lane. That's where some of David Berkowitz's people were parked also. Now, moments later, another driver noticed 2 seemingly lifeless bodies on the side of the road. Benicia police and others responded to the scene and discovered Betty Lou dead with 5 bullets in her back. David was found next to the Rambler with a bullet wound in his head, still breathing but near death. Bullet holes in the car's roof and back window indicated that the killer may have fired warning shots to force the victims out of the vehicle. Shell casings recovered at the crime scene identified ammunition as Winchester Western Super X copper-coated, and then ballistic evidence indicated that the killer used a .22 caliber, possibly a J.C. Higgins model 80 semi-automatic pistol. Investigators believe that the 2 teenagers were likely just random targets killed by a stranger for unknown reasons. Now, 22-year-old Darlene Ferrin was a wife, mother, and a popular waitress at a Vallejo restaurant. On the night of July the 4th, she picked up her friend Michael McGow and stopped her Corvair in the parking lot of Blue Rock Springs Park. Michael later told police that another vehicle pulled up into the lot around midnight and then left only to return minutes later. The driver got out of the car and shined a bright light and then fired into the Corvair with a 9mm handgun. Michael was shot in the jaw, shoulder, and leg. Darlene was hit several times. At approximately 12:40 p.m., a call came in that was later traced to a gas station payphone. A man rang the Vallejo Police Department and claimed responsibility for the shooting as well as the murders at Lake Herman Road. According to the police dispatcher, the caller spoke in a low, monotonous voice, saying, "I want to report a murder. If you will go 1 mile east on Columbus Parkway, you will find kids in a brown car. They were shot with a 9mm Luger. I also killed those kids last year. Goodbye." Darlene died on arrival to the hospital, but Michael survived. Investigators were unable to identify any viable suspects. Now, let me tell you something, people. This is something they don't write about in these articles, but you know what's very important to note? This is something that they don't. Okay, Sharita says, "I'm Black." Let me tell you something. This is something they don't put in these articles, right? And when they talk about the Zodiac, they don't often mention this. But guess what? I want you all to know something. One of those phone calls, when someone called into the police to report the killings, guess what? There was a police in the area, right? They actually saw the Zodiac killer. They saw him. But guess what? You know why they didn't catch him? You see, they could have easily caught the Zodiac killer. But do you know why they didn't catch him? Because the dispatcher who took the call, they say that the person mistakenly, I don't think it was a mistake, I think it was on purpose because of racism. But they say the dispatcher mistakenly identified the killer or the person who said they did it as a Black man. So as the police are in the area and they get the call over the radio that somebody, committed these murders, and they see the Zodiac killer more likely than not, right? Yes, he was white. Absolutely. The people who identified him, the people who gave the composite sketches, they said he was white. Yes, he was white. But the dispatcher said that the person was Black. They say that was a mistake, that they accidentally or mistakenly said that. How the hell do you accidentally say that the killer was Black? They said that on purpose, I'm sure. With that being said, by the fact that the idiot said the person was Black, the police ran into a man who fit the description of the composite sketch, And they didn't even think he was the killer. They stopped him and asked him, did you see anything? And he said no and continued going. But then later on, the Zodiac contacted them and told them, you're so stupid. You could have caught me. I was right there. He told them how stupid they were because they could have caught him. He was right there. So anyway, the letter to the Vallejo Times postmarked, the Vallejo Times Herald postmarked July 31st, 1969. The writer claimed responsibility for the 2 shootings and provided details about the victims, the weapons, the number of shots fired, and the brand of ammunition. Now, the second letter, the letter to the San Francisco Chronicle, which was postmarked July 31st, 1969, said one of 3 virtually identical letters accompanied by 1/3 of a cipher. This writer demanded publication of the letters and the cipher by Friday, August the 1st. Now, the letter to the San Francisco Examiner, which was postmarked July 31st, 1969, in this letter, the writer threatened to kill again if newspapers did not publish the cipher, which include the words, I like killing people because it's so much fun. That's the cipher that the couple, the teacher and his wife, Betty, that's the one they decoded. And then a 3-page letter received by the Examiner on August the 4th of 1969, sent in response to a police asking for information to prove the writer actually committed the murders. This was the first use of the name, the Zodiac. And that's when he began calling himself that. Now, on a Saturday in late September, college students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were relaxing along the shore of Lake Berryessa, some 30 miles north of Napa, California, when a man appeared holding a gun and wearing a hooded costume with a white cross circle stitched over the chest, explaining that he had escaped from prison. This is what he told them. He said that he had escaped from prison and needed money and a car to escape to Mexico. The stranger then bound her wrist with pre-cut lengths of plastic clothesline. Without any warning, he plunged a large knife into Brian's back 6 times. He then stabbed Cecilia 10 times as she fought for her life. The man then walked to Brian's car and used a pen to draw a cross circle on the door with the dates and locations of the previous attacks. The date, September 27th, 1969. The time, 6:30. This is what he put on the door of the car. And the notation, by knife. So he was giving them all these clues. He told them the date, the time, the year. How did he do it? By knife. And then at 7:40 p.m., a man called the Napa Police Department to report a double murder. The caller described Brian's car, directed the police to the scene, and confessed, I am the one who did it. Police traced the call to a payphone at a car wash in Napa. Cecilia died days later, but Brian survived. Now, message written on the passenger door of the victim Brian Hartnell's Volkswagen Ahmadiyyah, which included the dates of the 2 shootings. Sherwood Morrill, the California Department of Justice documents examiner, concluded that the door message was written by the author of the Zodiac letters. So absolutely saying that it was the same person. Now, Paul Stein, a 28-year-old student and husband, worked as a cab driver in San Francisco. That night, Stein picked up a fare and headed for a destination in the upscale Presidio Heights neighborhood. At the intersection of Washington and Cherry Streets, the passenger shot Stein in the head. And removed a piece of the victim's shirt. The man then walked away just before police arrived. But the police radio broadcast mistakenly described the suspect as a black man. And passing officers dismissed a white man resembling the correct description. Do you hear the BS? Fingerprints found on the driver's side of the cab may have belonged to the killer, and the sketch was produced based on descriptions provided by witnesses. Now, the case was considered a routine robbery until the office of the San Francisco Chronicle received an envelope with a letter from the Zodiac. With a letter from the Zodiac, which began with the words, I am the murderer of the taxi driver. The envelope also contained a blood-stained piece of Stein's shirt. The Zodiac denied the left fingerprints and claimed that the police sketch was inaccurate because he had, in fact, worn a disguise. Now, the Cradle of Supercars, looking for the ultimate, hold on. Oh, I'm sorry, that's something else. Okay. Letter to the Chronicle, postmarked October 13th, 1969. This is where the writer mocked the police for failing to catch him and threatened to shoot children as they got off the school bus. And the envelope contained a piece of the bloodstained shirt belonging to the victim, Paul Stein. Now, an envelope to the Chronicle, postmarked November the 8th, 1969, a month later, contained another piece of the cab driver's shirt, a humorous greeting card, and another cipher consisting of 340 symbols. The writer added, Des, July, August, September, October equals 7, a possible reference to more unidentified victims. Then a 7-page letter to the Chronicle, postmarked November the 9th, 1969. This was the longest letter yet. The longest message from Zodiac claimed that police stopped him. Listen to this. This is where he taunted them for not picking him up when they were looking for a black man. Pay attention. This was the longest letter from the Zodiac. He claimed that the police stopped him near the crime scene, but they let him go. Zodiac also included a bomb recipe and a diagram of the explosive. Yes, he told them how stupid they were that they could have caught him, and they let him go. And why did they let him go? Because they were looking for a black man. See, this is how these things go, people. They could have caught this man. This man has never been caught in 5 decades, over 5 decades. It's been 51 years since the Zodiac's first communication with law enforcement. And they've never caught this person. They could easily have caught them. He was right in their grasp. But because of racism, the devils were looking for a black man. Okay? And they want to say it was a mistake that somebody told them the person was black. There was no mistake. None of the victims ever identified a black man. So where in the hell did they get the black man from? Okay? Besides thin air. Now, letter addressed to famous attorney Melvin Belly, postmarked December the 20th, 1969. The writer feared he would kill again and asked Belly to intercede. The letter ended with, "Please help me. I cannot remain in control for much longer." Now, on Sunday in late March, 22-year-old Kathleen Johns packed her infant daughter into a station wagon and left San Bernardino, California, to go and visit her sick mother in Petaluma, in the northern part of the States. Now, Kathleen was also 7 months pregnant. And she was with child. And she was also with her longtime boyfriend. Okay, no, I'm sorry. It says she was 7 months pregnant with the child and her longtime boyfriend. Okay, as she traveled on Highway 132 near Modesto, another vehicle pulled alongside the station wagon, and the driver appeared to signal that Kathleen should pull over. On the side of the road, the driver explained that the back wheel of Kathleen's station wagon was loose, but he promised to fix the problem. Instead, he loosened the lug nuts and the wheel fell off as Kathleen tried to drive away. The man then offered to drive Kathleen to a gas station, but she climbed into his car and discovered that he appeared to have other plans. Hold on. Because didn't they say her boyfriend was with her? Or did I read that wrong? Kathleen was also 7 months pregnant with a child of her. Oh, okay. She was 7 months pregnant with a child of her boyfriend. I thought it said and her boyfriend. No, her boyfriend wasn't in the car. Okay. So this is a pregnant woman all by herself. And this man does that to her and then gets her in the car with him, thinking that he's taking her to get help. So listen to this. So she gets in the car with him. She climbs in the car and discovers soon that he has other plans. Now, she claimed that he also made unveiled threats to harm her child. Eventually, Kathleen grabbed her daughter and jumped from the car. A passing driver took Kathleen to a nearby police station where she identified the stranger from a police sketch of the Zodiac. Months later, a Zodiac letter mentioned, he says, a rather interesting ride with a woman and her baby. So he was letting them know that, yes, she was in his car. He was going to kill that woman if she hadn't jumped out. Now, a letter to the Chronicle postmarked April the 20th, 1970, included a 13-symbol cipher and a diagram of a bomb designed to kill children on a school bus. The Zodiac denied responsibility for a recent police station bombing that killed an officer. Now, on a greeting card to the Chronicle postmarked April the 28th, 1970, inside the card, the Zodiac demanded publication of his bomb threats and insisted that people from the San Francisco Bay Area wear Zodiac buttons featuring his chosen symbol, the crossed circle. In a letter to the Chronicle postmarked June the 26th of 1970, containing a map of the San Francisco Bay Area with a crossed circle on the peak of Mount Diablo and a code to locate the Zodiac's bomb, the letter claimed he killed again. A letter to the Chronicle postmarked July the 24th, 1970. The Zodiac complained that people weren't wearing his cross circle Zodiac buttons, and he claimed that he was responsible for the failed abduction of a pregnant mother named Kathleen Johns on March 22nd, 1970. Now, a 5-page letter to the Chronicle that was postmarked July the 26th, 1970. The Zodiac described torturing his victims and quoted from the Gilbert and Sullivan musical, The Mikado. The letter also explained that the Mount Diablo code concerned geometric angles such as radians. A postcard attributed to the Zodiac featured an advertisement for a condominium project in Lake Tahoe, Nevada, with the phrases, past Lake Tahoe areas and sought victim 12. Some interpreted the cryptic message as a clue to the disappearance of 25-year-old Donna Lass. In May of 1970, Donna worked in San Francisco at Letterman General Hospital, located on the Presidio military base near the area where the Zodiac killer had killed the cab driver. Donna moved northeast to South Lake Tahoe and found work as a nurse for the Sahara Hotel and Casino. On September the 6th, 1970, Donna vanished sometime after the last entry in her work logbook at 1:50 a.m. Her car was later found abandoned near her apartment. According to some accounts, an unidentified man called Donna's employer and her landlord, claiming she had to leave town due to a family emergency. Donna's family told authorities there was no such emergency, and the man was never identified. Now, investigators suspected Donna had been abducted and killed, but then her body was never found. Her disappearance remained a mystery, and her name was added to a long list of possible Zodiac victims. Now, suspected Zodiac postcard was postmarked October the 5th of 1970, with a message constructed with text clipped from other sources. The words said, "The pace isn't any slower. In fact, it's just one big," and that's all it said. Were clipped from these letters were clipped from a comic strip, and it said Smidgens. I don't know what Smidgens mean, but they also put Smidgens. Now, Halloween cards sent to the Chronicle reporter Paul Avery, postmarked October the 27th of 1970. The writer misspelled Avery's name. Instead of putting Avery, which was his last name, they put Averly and the number 14, like the number 4 and the word T-E-E-N, 14. That was interpreted as a possible reference to an unidentified 14th victim. Now, a letter addressed to the Los Angeles Times, postmarked March 13th, 1971. In it, the Zodiac suggested that he was responsible for the unsolved murder of Sherry Jo Bates near Riverside City College on October the 30th of 1966. Postcard to Chronicle reporter Paul Avery, postmarked March 22nd, 1971. The writer once again misspelled Avery's name as Averly. It read the phrase, sought victim 12. What that was interpreted as a reference to Donna Lass, her disappearance in the Lake Tahoe, Nevada area. Now, the search for new leads in the Zodiac case led investigators across the United States to Albany, New York. The office of the Albany Times-Union newspaper received an envelope postmarked August the 1st, 1973, with a cross circled, drawn in the corner instead of a return address. The letter said, "You are wrong. I'm not dead or in the hospital. I am alive and well, and I'm going to start killing again." That's what the letter said. "Below is the name and location of my next victim, but you had better hurry because I'm going to kill her August the 10th at 5 p.m. when the shift changes. Albany is a nice town." This is what he said. And then below the message, the writer included 3 rows of symbols. According to the FBI report, Bureau cryptanalysis deciphered the coded message to read, "Redacted, Albany Medical Center. This is only the beginning." That's what the letter said. And it was written in code. So they clearly decoded that. Now, this is only the beginning, and investigators were unable to identify any murders that could explain the vague reference to a victim on August the 10th. Handwriting experts could not determine if the new letter was prepared by the writer of the Zodiac letters due to the lack of significant characteristics in the Albany message. Due to the lack of significant characteristics in the Albany message. But this possibility could not be eliminated based on limited analysis. Letter to the Chronicle postmarked January 29th of 1974. The writer alluded to a possible suicide in another quote from the Gilbert and Sullivan musical, The Mikado. The notation, it said, "Me 37 SFD-0. That was interpreted as a box score indicating 37 victims. Okay? Cutie2 said, "Damn, that's scary." Yes. Michael said, "What a sick F." These people are demonic. Absolutely. Now, postcard to the Chronicle, postmarked February the 14th, 1974. The writer referred to the SLA, or Symbionese Liberation Army, a group of militant urban guerrillas responsible for the abduction of newspaper heiress Patty Hearst. This message was signed "A Friend." And then card to the Chronicle, postmarked May the 8th of 1974. This message from a citizen complained about the glorification of violence in newspaper ads for the movie The Badlands, about the killing spree of Richard Starkweather and his 14-year-old girlfriend. That's another serial killer that I'm going to talk to you about likely next week. His name is Richard Starkweather. He went on a killing spree. I think he was like 19 years old, maybe 20, and his girlfriend was 14. And they are the ones that inspired the movie Natural Born Killers, which starred Woody Harrelson and Juliette, I cannot remember her last name. But anyway, yes. So, letter to the Chronicle, postmarked July the 8th, 1974. The writer complained that Chronicle columnist Count Marco Spinelli suffered from a serious psychological disorder and should be sent back to the hellhole. Should be sent back in the hellhole. This letter was signed "The Red Phantom." Okay, so now you see the Zodiac killer like to send them letters taunting them and just giving them bits and pieces of clues, but not giving them enough to go on as far as catching him. But now I'm going to play for you the audio of one of the people who cracked the code for the third cipher. Okay? Before I do that, let me read my fair use disclaimer. Funny that the cross circle is associated with Zodiac, a symbol, I guess, because it looks like a gun, slight target, whatever that's called when you peer through a gun. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Look up Woody Harrelson's father. Woody Harrelson's father. Okay. All right. Thank you, Misfits. Thank you. That's why Afro-Americans need to be careful imitating Caucasians in getting these tattoos on their faces and bodies. Yes, absolutely. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Okay, amateur sleuths crack one of the Zodiac killer's ciphers after 51 years. Okay. Now, I'm not going to play this whole thing because it is actually like 9 minutes long. So the FBI announced that a cipher from the Zodiac killer has been solved more than half a century after the infamous killer began his reign of terror. 3 private citizens broke what's known as the 340 cipher, a vexing code that has stumped detectives and cryptographers alike for decades. David Orankak, a software developer in Virginia, Jarl van Eck, a Belgian computer programmer, and Sam Blake, an Australian mathematician, are being credited with decoding the message, according to CNN reports. Now, the killer, who operated around the San Francisco Bay Area between 1968 and 1969, is famous for the coded messages he sent to police and media. While 3 of the 4 ciphers were previously solved, the 340 cipher remained the most elusive. Okay, that's because it had 340 characters. Now, the coded message sent to the San Francisco Chronicle in 1969 read, "I hope you're having lots of fun trying to catch me." That wasn't, and then he says, "That wasn't me on the TV show," which brings up a point about me. Because here's the thing, someone called into a TV show, I forget the name of it, but someone had called into a TV show, right? And they said that they were the Zodiac killer, okay? And I think they said something like, "I'm not crazy, I'm insane," or "I'm not sick, I'm insane." But he said that wasn't him. So he says, and they also said they didn't want to go to the gas chamber. Now, the Zodiac says that that wasn't him that called to the TV show, which brings up a good point about me. He says, I am not afraid of the gas chamber. Okay? He says, "I'm not afraid of the gas chamber." And I'm going to let you hear the person, one of the people who, I'm not going to play the whole thing. I'm going to fast forward it a bit to get to that part. Hold on.
Bringo up a point about worked perfectly because of some mistake Zodiac might have made when he created the cipher. So we decided to look at what corrections need to be made to fix the cipher. The first thing we discovered is that many spelling mistakes happen on the same line. For example, these words are misspelled. OOW should be now. ENSUGH should be enough. Slaver should be slaves. And FOV should be for. The problem letters are OSVR. They are all on the same line. To fix the spelling, you have to change those letters to NOSR. But notice that NOSR is on the same line, but is shifted 1 position to the left. I sent this observation to Jarl, and he discovered if you shift this entire section to the right and move the H from the end to the beginning, it fixes the spelling of many words. We also noticed how "life is" appears in the clear, up in the upper right corner. Jarl also discovered that if you ignore this section when applying the diagonal reading rule, the message in this part is even more clear. So, now we go through the reading rule like this. And remember, we are going to skip the "life is" part. And here's the resulting message. And with some minor corrections, we finally have this.
Hold on, people. I want you all to see the cipher before they decoded it. Hold on.
That is the rule we are using to read out the message. Doesn't quite work perfectly because of some mistake Zodiac might have made when he created the cipher. So we decided to look at what corrections need to be made to fix the cipher. The first thing we discovered is that many spelling mistakes happen on the same line. For example, these words are misspelled. OOW should be now. ENSUGH should be enough. Slaver should be slaves. And FOV should be for. The problem letters are OSVR. They are all on the same line. To fix the spelling, you have to change those letters to NOSR. But Notice that NOSR is on the same line, but is shifted one position to the left. I sent this observation to Jarl, and he discovered if you shift this entire section to the right and move the H from the end to the beginning, it fixes the spelling of many words. We also noticed how life is appears in the clear, up in the upper right corner. Jarl also discovered that if you ignore this section when applying the diagonal reading rule, the message in this part is even more clear. So, now we go through the reading rule like this. And remember, we are going to skip the life is part. And here's the resulting message. And with some minor corrections, we finally have this. Sooner, because I now have enough slaves to work for me, where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that I knew. Jarl supposed that Zodiac may have intended for the extra words life is to be placed at the end of the message, so it reads, I am not afraid because I know that my new life is. So now when we combined all three parts, the final message looks like this. I hope you are having lots of fun in trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I am not afraid of the gas chamber because it will send me to paradise all the sooner because I now have enough slaves to work for me, where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid because I know that my new life will be an easy one in paradise, death. Incidentally, where the words paradise and death appear in the solution corresponds to where the Zodiac signature appears in the original ciphertext. The very end doesn't flow quite right yet, but maybe someone can figure out how it's supposed to read. But that is the final message we settled on, and we submitted it to the FBI on the morning of Saturday, December 5th. By the time you see this video, it should be officially confirmed by authorities. But I invite everyone to do their own confirmation based on the information in this video and send in your comments. So it's been a very exciting few days. 51 years after it was sent, Zodiac's 340 character cipher has finally been solved. The message doesn't really say a whole lot. It's more of the same attention-seeking junk from Zodiac. We were disappointed that he didn't put any personally identifying information in the message, but we didn't expect him to. Maybe his name really is in the 13-character cipher he sent almost 6 months after the 340. Unfortunately, there is not much hope of confirming any solutions for such a short cipher without getting really lucky and discovering new evidence or finding Zodiac still alive and asking him. But the solution tells us Zodiac did indeed react to how quickly his first cipher was solved back in August of 1969, and he put in a good effort to make his second cipher even more complicated. This thing was a beast. Splitting it up into 3 parts and including multiple transpositions made the cipher difficult, but it was made even more difficult because of the mistakes in the second part. We were extremely lucky to uncover this solution because enough of the cipher was still created systematically using rules that one day someone would try to apply to the cipher. So now I want to thank all the people that helped make this solution possible. First.
Okay. So you all heard what he said the solution to the cipher was. He said that's all they got. But he said if anyone had any suggestions, I agree they need to pull the men in to help. Obviously, the FBI hasn't accomplished jack. Did you all delete Nala Waters? Did you all delete Nala Waters? Right, they could retest evidence. I'm talking to the mods. Did you all delete Nala? Yes or no? Did anybody delete her? Because I didn't want her to delete it. She was asking a legit question. Okay, so listen, this is what I want y'all to do. Don't delete anybody's responses. Don't delete anybody or block anybody unless I tell you to. But also, don't delete anybody unless they say something disrespectful. Because even if they're trolling and they ask something silly, I don't care. I just don't want people being disrespectful, like, using profanities, saying something racist or crazy and stuff like that. So, okay, yeah, okay. But I don't want people's comments deleted either, right? I don't want people's comments deleted unless, thank you, my sister in Christ. Yes, it's perfectly fine. It's okay, Nala. I don't want people's comments deleted unless they say something that's disrespectful. Okay? Don't just be deleting people because they say something you don't like or because you think they're trolling. All right? Because I'm watching the chat too. So I'll tell you guys when I think somebody's getting out of pocket. But so listen, I would like to thank Nala for tuning in. I would also like to thank Mika. She said this is her first time being in here. She just subscribed. So thank you. Now, with that all being said, listen, did you all hear what they said was the code? Where they cracked the code of the third cipher. I'm going to read to you the message. Now, they said if anybody has any other different reasons, thank you, Lot Wizard. I am fair. Okay, so it's your third time. Thank you, Stan the Man, for tuning in. And so with that all being said, everyone who isn't subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. And please like and share the video. Sharing the video is the only way to get around shadow banning, which they shadow ban me. And so also, make sure you click the notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time that I go live. And if you don't get the notifications for whatever reason, please make sure, double check and make sure that you're still subscribed, because sometimes YouTube unsubscribes people from channels. And last but not least, I also go live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. promptly, right? I may be a few minutes late sometimes, but I try to be on time for the most part. But 9 a.m. every morning, Monday through Friday, I go live with your morning wake-up call. And then at 6 p.m. every Monday through Friday, I go live with your daily vitamin. And I'm always live at 9 and 6. Now, I may do videos in between sporadically if I get breaking news or whatever, if I have an extra story I want to get out. But I'm always live at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. So even if you don't get a notification, tune into the Queen's channel, because I do go live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. and 6 p.m. And every Saturday, 8 o'clock p.m., true crime, okay? If anything changes where I'm not going to go live on either of the days that I always do, I will always post it on Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube to let you know. If I don't post anything saying that I'm not going live, that means I'm absolutely going live. So even if you don't get a notification, tune in. Because people always tell me they don't get notifications. Just getting here, so I'll have to rewatch the video. Oh, that's okay, Blackfoot. Thank you. Boy, this Bible do have power. Okay, so listen, people, I'm going to read to you what they say the message says, right? And then I'm going to tell you what I think it says, because I think a few of the words that they have are jumbled. That's just what I think. I've been trying to decode this since college when I first read about the Zodiac killer. But clearly, they have done a better job than me or anybody else has. But with that all being said, he did say, if you have your own interpretations, feel free to send it to them or whatever. And I'm going to tell you what I think the last part says, because I think they mixed up a few words. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong, but hey, that's what I think. So they say, this is what the entire message says. I hope you're having lots of fun trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber, because it will send me to paradise all the sooner, because I now have enough slaves to work for me where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. I am not afraid, because I know that my life will be an easy one in paradise, death. Now that doesn't make sense to me, that last part. So I think this is what it should say. This is what I think that he was saying. I hope that you are having lots of fun trying to catch me. That wasn't me on the TV show, which brings up a point about me. I'm not afraid of the gas chamber, because it will send me to paradise all the sooner, because I have enough slaves to work for me where everyone else has nothing when they reach paradise. So they are afraid of death. And this is the part that I corrected. This is what I think it says. I am not afraid of death, because I know that my death will be easy. A new life will be an easy new life in paradise. That's what I think he was saying. Because I am not afraid, because I know my new life will be an easy one in paradise, death. That doesn't make sense to me. I think it should have said, I am not afraid because I know my death will be an easy new life in paradise. That's what I think it says. That's what I think it says. So, sounds better for sure. Thank you, Stan the Man. So I hope you all enjoyed this episode because I have always been intrigued by the Zodiac Killer. And here's another thing. You all know, those of you who have been here from day one when I started my channel like 9 months ago, you all know that I am prophetic. I'm psychic, whatever you want to call it. Very intuitive. I have predicted things and they have come true. And I have shared the things with you prior to, you know, like, for example, let me just give you a few things for those of you who haven't been on my channel, some things that I have predicted. I predicted months ago that there would be a terroristic attack on April the 20th. Okay. I had a dream about this. And then this all came true because April the 20th, there was a terrorist attack in Nova Scotia. Now, also, I knew about Kobe Bryant's death like 2 days before it happened because I had a dream that someone famous was going to die, someone that was very important to everybody. And then a day later, I had a vision of a newspaper headline that said Kobe Bryant died. Now, when I had this vision, I went to my son, who knows more about basketball and all that stuff than I do. And I asked him, is Kobe Bryant dead? He was like, no. And I'm like, okay, I was thinking, why did I see this? You know, as if Kobe Bryant was dead. And then 2 days later, Kobe Bryant was dead. Okay. So I have these premonitions often. So with that all being said, I said that to say this. I had an encounter with a serial killer. Okay. Yes, I had a real life encounter with a serial killer. And the reason I bring that up is because when I had this encounter, my premonition, precognition, whatever you want to call it, told me that I was going to have an encounter with this killer. I was at a job and I was about to leave out the door, and something told me in my spirit, don't go outside because someone like the Zodiac Killer is coming. So I thought, wait a minute, that sounds crazy. Why would my mind be telling me this, right? And then I had the same intuition again before I went out the door. Okay. Now, mind you, I had been reading about the Zodiac Killer again. I had studied it in college and I was reading about it again, right? Reading about the Zodiac Killer again and making some comparisons to other killers like David Berkowitz and stuff like that. And so I thought, my mind is playing tricks on me. Surely there's not a killer outside. But anyway, there was. Okay? And the zebra murders. Yes, I did that, Otis. I did that months ago. I did the zebra murders. What's the title of the video where you talk about the dream you had? Jared, I cannot remember. I promise you I can't remember, right? I talk about things sporadically. You know, if I dream something and then I get up the next day and of course I'm doing a live, I'll talk about it, but I can't recall. I absolutely can't recall. And I'll tell you some other things that I actually have had premonitions of. Now, one of my best friend was in the chat one day when I was telling people about how I dreamt 9/11 before it happened. I had this dream for like a whole 5 days, not even a week, but like 5 days. I had this dream of planes driving into buildings. And I had the dream and it was so prominent and I knew something was going to happen to the point that I actually called the Federal Aviation Administration. Okay. I literally called them. And I told them that I was having these visions of these planes and that I saw some planes flying low in the sky, which I clearly did. And I thought, these are the planes I've been dreaming about. They're going to go into buildings. And I actually called them and I said, I saw these 2 planes. They weren't commercial planes. They had lights on the bottom and they were turning flips and doing all kinds of tricks and stuff. And they told me, they said, oh, don't worry about it. That's probably some fighter pilots, you know, just playing around or whatever. And then a few days later, 9/11 struck. And I was at home in bed asleep. And my best friend called me because I had told her about the dreams and everything. And I said, you know what? I think we need to get out of town because there's going to be an attack. And we called her parents and asked them if we could come and stay with them because they lived out of town. Because she was telling them, oh, Ahmadiyyah thinks that something's crazy going to happen, that we're going to be attacked and all of this. And her parents asked her, is your friend smoking something? Like they thought I was high. They thought I was clearly sounding crazy. right? So anyway, with that all being said, that Tuesday when 9/11 started, when the first plane struck, my friend called me. I was asleep and I had fallen asleep with the television on. She called me. She said, "Are you awake?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm woke now." She says, "Are you watching the news?" And I said, "No, why?" She said, "Your dream is on the news. You've been talking all this time about planes going into buildings." She said, "Look at the TV." And so I looked at the TV and I saw where the plane had hit the first tower. So that's crazy, right? I also dreamt about the earthquake in Haiti. I believe that was around 2009. And one thing about my premonitions is they're always something catastrophic, right? Always something catastrophic. So it's real crazy. Stay spiritually full and black, my sister. You was high in the spirit. Thank you. I was in bed when I heard about 9/11 too. I thought it was a publicity stunt. You're blessed, Queen. Thank you, Eric Green. Way the plane flew through, it was crazy. Yes, absolutely. But you know what though? William Cooper had said there was going to be a terrorist attack and that our government was going to do it and they were going to blame it on bin Laden. He didn't say what the attack would be or how they would carry it out, but he did say it would be a terrorist attack. Okay. And he was assassinated like 2 months after 9/11. Queen, will I be rich? Oh, Mark Petty, cut it out. Did I miss you talking about the Atlanta child murders? No, Pam, I haven't talked about those, and I'm glad you brought that up because that is something that I want to talk about. Let me write that down. Atlanta child murders, yes. Because let me tell you something. I actually worked on a cold case about the Atlanta child murders, and I'll tell you all about that when I discuss it. But I absolutely worked on a cold case, and in fact, the people that I worked with, we were a bunch of students, right? And we were actually on CNN. Okay? This is true. I was in school in the 4th grade in 2001 and we had to go home. Wow. Almost 20 years later, how do you feel about the 9/11 attacks? Do you think there is more to it than was being... Oh, yes. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Let me tell you something. All I had to do to know that there was more to it was to refer back to what William Cooper always said. When they said Osama bin Laden, and I remember William Cooper saying there would be an attack, our government would do it, and that they would blame it on Osama bin Laden. As soon as they said Osama bin Laden, and then as soon as they said that they packed up his family that was here in the U.S., and they took them or they sent them out of the country, the first thing I thought was that's very suspicious because any other time when there's a homicide or some type of heinous crime committed, they don't send the family somewhere out of town to protect them. They go straight to the family and start interrogating and questioning them to try to find out what they know. So that was a red flag as far as I was concerned, right? And then also when I did further research and digging, found out that Osama bin Laden actually worked for the CIA. How does that make sense? Can somebody make it make sense? So I clearly thought there was more going on. Also, let me tell you something else. I remember on the morning of 9/11, there was a FEMA worker. There was a FEMA worker who came on the news. I will never forget. I know what I heard. A FEMA worker. He was a white man. I think he had a mustache. He had like a low cut, sandy blonde hair. And this man said, listen to this. He said, when we got the call on Monday, we knew that there was going to be such a mass loss of life. We knew that we had to take it down. So, or we had to pull it. So when I thought about it, I said, wait a minute, how did they get a call on Monday? 9/11 happened on a Tuesday. Why did he say on a Monday when they got the call? And then he said, we had to pull it. Well, I know about construction. And when you use the word pull it, you mean you're going to bring it down. So when some of the people that were in the building, like the firefighters, the fire department and stuff, when they were talking about, they heard explosions, they heard different explosions. That made me think about when they demolish a building, they put explosives in there to bring the building down. And I also remember that there was a building that caught fire. I think it was in Ethiopia. It was some part of Africa where a plane ran into a building and that building burned for like 17 hours and it never collapsed. So why did those two buildings collapse? And the way they went down, it looked to me like there was bombs planted on either various floors or something like that. It just didn't all make sense. And then, like I said, when I thought about what William Cooper, and then years later, like maybe just 3 years ago, I think it was, they actually came out and said that Osama bin Laden had nothing to do with 9/11. And that's just what William Cooper said. And then also there was information that came out saying that one of the people who owned shares or owned the Twin Towers had purchased $300 million, I believe it was, in insurance. And basically saying that if the buildings were destroyed by an act of terrorism, they were supposed to get so much money or whatever, right? Like $300 million or something like that. But also watch Fahrenheit 9/11, Fahrenheit 9/11 by Michael Moore. Just watch that. Okay. I think it's more to that. I also think that it's more to what they said about Hurricane Katrina, because there were people saying that they heard them blowing up the levees. Okay. I think, in my opinion, they were trying to flood the black areas, the inner city areas. I think they were trying to flood that so that they could take over and have other people come in and stay there, right? Trying to kill off many of the black people. That's just what my opinion is, okay? I think it was much more to it. Don't forget about Building 7. Yes, absolutely. It went down so quick, right? I was only 4 when 9/11 happened. Wow. Okay, so Miss Natural Candy J says, yes, Queen, facts. Okay, so with that all being said, listen, population control. Yes, I absolutely believe that. That's true. We could have been C4. I heard that too. Queen, have you seen the movie Skin? You mean American Skin? Is that the movie you're talking about with Nate Parker? Queen Ahmadiyyah, you should connect with Baba Rasan. That, the elder, I follow him. Baba Rasan, yes, I absolutely follow him. I haven't seen his videos lately because I've been so busy doing my own and stuff, but I used to follow him before I started, actively doing my own videos. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, I need to get back on his channel. I am subscribed to him. I was watching TV when it happened. How was the media filming it as it happened? And about 15 minutes after the second building was hit, it went down like a building that was demolished. Yes, absolutely. Okay. He was at a camp at the stadium and left my ass off. Baba walked up. Y'all stay safe, black community. They will always try us because they want to be us. Very true. The Klan killed those babies in Atlanta. Yes, Iyama Bay. Absolutely. Absolutely. Wayne Williams, in my opinion, did not kill them. He did not kill them. But I will say this. The adults, and this is what I want you to realize, people. When they talk about the Atlanta child murders, they try to say that many people think the case was solved. Many people think that Wayne Williams did it. Wayne Williams, in fact, was only accused and convicted of killing the adults. Okay? The adults. And I do believe that he killed those adults. That's just what I believe. I believe he killed those adults. And because he fits the serial killer profile, in my opinion. Okay? Let's not forget I'm a serial killer expert. Literally. But I do believe that he fits the serial killer profile. And we'll talk about all of that when I talk about the Atlanta child murders. These people are homegrown terrorists. Yes, many of them global terrorists. I knew it was planned when Bush sat back down, putting kids in danger. If we under attack, why sit back down as a shield? You mean when he was in the class reading that book to those kids? Yeah, right, exactly. I believe he did too, Queen. Yes, absolutely. I lived there, first plane over my building. Mom saw it from courthouse downtown. I see people jumping to death. Yeah, that was very sad. I hate to think about that. I saw those people jumping to their deaths too. In fact, that's the first thing I saw when I woke up, when my friend called me and asked me if I was watching the news. That was real sad. What sign are you? I'm a Pisces. I'm a Pisces. Yes, and Pisces are very intuitive people. And if any of you study numerology and you know about the how the cards represent, not the tarot cards, of course, but the regular playing cards, how they represent the universe, winter, spring, summer, and fall. They represent Earth, in the universe. So that's why they have 4 suits: winter, spring, summer, and fall. And if you add up the number of characters on the cards, if you add all that up, what each card value is worth, it comes out to be 365 and a quarter days. There's 365 and a quarter days in a year, and everybody is born under a particular card. And according to the card that they're born on, you can determine and tell what their personality traits are like and their characteristics. The only person who you can't determine is a person born on December 31st, because December 31st is the day of the Joker. And as we know, the Joker is wild. So the Joker can be itself and any other card in the deck. So those people, you cannot always determine their personality traits or their characteristics. Okay? But then they make us repeat and remember these events every year, knowing they caused all these deaths. This is what they do. This is what they do. Here's another thing. They also make you celebrate Thanksgiving, right? They don't make you, but they're the reason you celebrate it, for those of you who do. And they also committed genocide on the natives, the original natives, inhabitants, your ancestors. I'm just saying, this is what they do. This is what they do. From the calendar change, I'm supposed to be a Scorpio. Dan says, thank you. You're welcome. You are so welcome. What do they say about Virgos? I'm going to tell you what I say about Virgos, Dan. And my dealings with Virgos, they are very narcissistic, and they don't like to admit when they are wrong. Now, I'm not saying that's you, but the Virgos that I know, they are very narcissistic. They never want to admit faults. They seldom apologize. You know why they don't apologize? Because they don't feel they do anything wrong. That's what the Virgos that I know. Aquarius and Pisces cusp. Yes, absolutely, Eon Ma'abe. My best friend, one of my best friends, is an Aquarius. Okay? It's an Aquarius. The Zodiac killer reminds me of DC Copper. DB Copper. Who is DB Copper? What do they say about Capricorn? Hold on, Queen, have the black women murdered in about the black 5 women murdered in Baltimore found with no hands and feet. It's on Yurima Karama's IG page. What? Honey, I got to call Yurima, okay? I got to call him because I didn't know anything about this. Me and Yurima are good friends. In fact, I'm going to have to bring him on here. I had a collab scheduled with him before my channel got banned or for 7 days a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to have to bring him on here. Okay? I'm supposed to be Libra or something. What do you think about Scorpios? Do you read palms? All of y'all are asking me the most questions. Y'all need to cut it out, okay? No, I don't read palms, okay? But I am intuitive, and I do card readings with the regular cards, not with the tarot cards. I don't fool with those, okay? So anyway, Leos are the best. Okay, if you say so. Taurus, he just put it up. Okay, I'm going to talk to him. What about Cancer? Y'all are just too much. Let me tell y'all something. The best sign of the whole zodiac is Pisces, okay? I'm just saying. I'm just saying. All right? Virgo's amazing. Analyze and overthink everything with harsh criticism, even with themselves. Now, they do all of that. They do all of that, but they're narcissistic nonetheless. Many of them are, and they don't like to say they're wrong, and they don't like to apologize. That's the main thing that I get from them. And how do I know? Because let me tell you something. Almost every boyfriend that I ever had was a Virgo, okay? Because Pisces are naturally attracted to Virgos. That's just a thing. Pisces are bipolar. This is true, Reggie Jackson, yes. This is true. You could say bipolar. I mean, that's what you call it. I don't really call it bipolar, but I will say that I can go from 0 to 60 in a flash. As I'm sure many of you have seen when trolls get in the chat and start talking crazy to the queen, right? Yes, you may call it bipolar, right? Valentino says, I'm an Aquarius. That's right. I love Aquariuses. Those are September Virgo, says Cutie Tootie. You could be right. You know what? You are right. Now that you mention it, all of them were born in September. You are so right. Okay? No, the world treats us that way. That's right. Pisces are the coolest. Thank you, Felicia, beloved. Queen, was my family wrong? We believe in God. I know Thanksgiving was everything last supper Easter when he rose of the cross, and Jesus, Christ must be a gift from heaven. Are we going to hell? I hardly think you're going to hell. I don't believe there's any hell, okay? I think hell is something that was made up to frighten the slaves and keep them submissive and keep them, you know, loving their people who mistreat them. That's why many Black people still today say, oh, I forgive them when one of the racist people kills their family member, you know, and things like that. There's no such thing as hell, people. Please, there's not. It just isn't. Okay. I want you to ask yourself, with the same loving God who created you, and God created us in his image, right? I'm not even going to say his, because I don't think God is a man. Okay. I think God is a consciousness, right? An energy. Neither male nor female. But at the end of the day, I don't think that the creator would have a place where you could burn into eternity. For one, that doesn't make sense, because when you die, your avatar, which is the shell that carries our spirit and our soul, that is dead. The lake of fire is real. Helen, you would have to show proof. How can you say it's real when you have no proof, sweetie? How can you say it's real when you have no proof? The lake of fire, absolutely, it's not real. The people who told you it was real have absolutely said that they made it all up. Now, do you want to believe your own mind? Or do you want to believe the people who fed that story to your ancestors? If they say that they made it up, believe them, beloveds. Believe them. And if hell was real, the people who told your ancestors about it, how come they never were afraid to go? How come they were still lynching, killing, committing genocide, you know, doing all these heinous things, enslaving people and doing all of that, if they knew there was a hell? Make it make sense. If there was a hell, do you think they would be so heinous when they're the ones that told our ancestors about it? You my best friend in my head, Queen. Thank you, Eon, my Aunt Bay. I'm your best friend in real life. I don't just have to be in your head, right? But listen, excellent point, Queen. Yes, thank you, Crazy Wisdom. Okay? Heaven is real. I've been there. Cat's Corner, I believe you have been there, because heaven is in your head. We make our own heaven and hell. That's what we do. Now, those of you who missed my episode that I did about the biblical allegories, I have to do that for you one day to let you all know. What do you think about Libras, Queen? Mostly men are narcissists. I'm not going to say mostly men are narcissists, but women are narcissists too. I know quite a few. Hell was made for falling angels, not man. What are the positive traits of Aquarius men? Y'all are asking me too many questions. Listen, I cannot answer all of these questions, people. Okay? You know what I'll likely do? I'm going to tell you what I'll likely do. One of these days, I will likely do a reading for like 5 people. That's it. Okay? Like 5 people. All right? But not tonight. I have to go, beloveds. I love you all, and I thank you so much for tuning Black in. Thanks to all of the new subscribers. Thanks to all of my day ones. Thanks to the mods and everyone. It's very real, and Jesus Christ is very much real. TV Mama, I didn't say anything about Jesus, honey. But I tell you who ain't real. White Jesus, the one that's AKA Caesar Borgia. That's the name, Caesar Borgia. Okay? That one, it's not real. Now, if you talk about Yahshua, that's a whole nother story. Okay? Queen, you are so sweet, and I love you. I love you right black, beloved. There is no such thing as evil. It's people who make choices to pursue negative energy. It's negative and positive energy. It's whatever you channel, but there are earth laws that will affect you depending. Great show, Queen. Thank you. Thank you, Crazy Wisdom. Thank you. And yes, you know what? There are people who channel these nefarious energies, right? Low vibrational frequencies. And sorry, hell is real. The Bible actually says it is. Sean M., what you need to realize about the Bible, my beloved, is that it was translated, okay? From Hebrew to English. With that being said, pay attention. Many things are lost in translation. Now, I am an ordained minister, right? Though I don't practice that anymore. But I will say this. I have studied the Bible for years. I can read Hebrew, speak Hebrew, and I have read the original Bible that was written in Hebrew. And let me tell you something. Many of the things in the King James Version that many of you read and most of you read, those are not what they seem. And that's just the facts. That is just the facts, people. Let's not forget that man translated that Bible. Okay? You cannot take everything in there literally. Many of the things in the Bible are allegorical texts. One thing you're not going to win is a debate with me about the scripture because I'm such an expert on it. Okay? Now, again, I will say hell is not real. If you think that the creator who made you out of love created you, right, would literally send you someplace for doing things that you had no business doing, please wake up. That doesn't make sense. That sounds like something that Satan would do if it were so. Not a loving God who's omnipotent. Please make it make sense. The Bible was used as a tool to keep black people down. Yes, absolutely, Dan. Yes. Sounds like a lava to me. Right. You know what hell is? Where they got that whole story from? They got it from a volcano eruption. Think about it. A volcano, when it erupts, that's like the whole description of hell. That's where they got that from. They clearly made it up. It's not real, people. Wake up. Wake up. Wake up. Let me tell you something. When people die, the avatar dies. The shell, like I told you. Your spirit lives on. Okay? The spirit and soul live on. You come back time and time again through what is called reincarnation. People who do bad in this life, they come back in the next life and they usually get their karma, right? That's just what it is. That's what I believe. Yes, I heard that he was gay also. Not that it matters, but I also don't believe everything he wrote in that Bible that he transliterated. They say hell is a condition. Hell is actually what we make for ourselves. When you are low vibrational, you put yourself in hell. Hell is right here on earth, people. There are demons and devils walking around. Don't they tell you there are demons and devils in hell? There are demons. Thank you. Absolutely, Dredden. We are in hell now. Yes, we are. Black people have been in hell. Let me tell y'all something. Y'all need to wake up talking about hell because I want y'all to realize something, black people. We have been in hell for over 400 years, almost 500 years. Okay? Do you think that God would allow us to go through this mess, this hell on earth, and then when we die, send us to another one only to burn for eternity? Please, that makes no sense. There's no such thing as hell. Okay? Hell is right here on earth. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Hell is man's common grave. Jesus Christ went to Hades and returned. Okay. Heaven is for my black community. I believe everything you say. We need to wake up. Thank you, Donna. Thank you. When you die, you are prepared again to be placed back here on earth. This is a home forever. Thank you. It's not literally speaking. Yes, thank you. Listen, I'm going to tell y'all this and I'm going to let y'all go. If all those people in the Bible were real, because they weren't. Many of those people are allegorical. And I'm going to explain that to you one day, not today. But I will do another biblical allegorical thing like I did months ago. I'll do another one just for fun because I clearly need to wake some people up here. But the people in the Bible, they're absolutely not real. The Bible is found in the fiction section at any public library. It tells you inside of the Bible that Jesus spoke in parables, and when he could not speak in parables, he did not speak. Whenever he spoke to a multitude of people, he spoke in parables. Okay? What does parables mean? It's a story that's told to give you a lesson. Okay? It's not literally what's happening. The Bible is full of myths, allegories, and parables, people. Symbolisms, symbolic stories. Now, if you believe that all of those people in the Bible were absolutely true and they walked the earth, please tell me, where are they buried? Why can we not find any of their graves or tombs or any of those things, but any of their remains? But we can find the pharaohs from Egypt, can we not? Yes, we can find them. They even found Osiris. They found the tomb of Osiris a few years ago. I believe it was in 2015, if I'm not mistaken. But they can clearly find tombs of the Egyptians. Then if that's true, why can't they find the tombs of the biblical characters? I'm just saying, people, please trust me. The Bible is not to be taken seriously. I mean, not seriously. It's not to be taken literally in all aspects. Now, some of the scriptures you can take literally, but some of it is an allegorical text. And what you need to remember first and foremost is that the Bible literally came from the ancient Cometians, your ancestors, right? From the Book of the Dead, as well as the ancient walls of Kemet. Okay, there are things painted on the ancient walls of Kemet in hieroglyphics, and also there are different pictures painted on the ancient walls of Kemet that are actually depicted and talked about in the Bible. Okay? So I said all that to say this. If they stole the things from the Bible, from the Egyptians, that should tell you something. Is that God's word or man's? If it was God's word, they wouldn't have had to take it from the ancient Egyptians. I'm just saying, make it make sense. With that all being said, plus the biblical timeline does not match reality. For example, the earth was not created in 7 literal days. Thank you. Okay? With that all being said, let me go ahead and close out this broadcast. I love you all. Thank you all for tuning back in. Okay? I will not be going live tomorrow, people. I will be resting and working out at the gym and starting my fast, and then back on a raw vegan diet. I've been eating a vegan diet, but not raw. I've been cooking my food, but I have to go back to my raw vegan diet because December the 21st is coming, and I intend to get every bit of my spiritual powers that many of us will be blessed with when the planets Saturn and Jupiter align. Okay? There is a shifting in the atmosphere and things are changing, people. Be ready, stay in tune, and be prepared. And these are your lifelines. Also, make sure you're listening to the podcast, Low Frequency Hertz, HERTZ Hertz. Make sure you're listening to the podcast on Anchor and Spotify so that you are getting your gems, you're getting your lifelines, the things that I cannot talk about on the internet. Okay? Make sure you have your non-perishable food items. Famine's around the corner. As I told you, it looms. Disaster is impending. Make sure you have your water stacked and stocked in the house, as well as your non-perishable items. And make sure that you are meditating at least 10 minutes a day. And if you can't do it every day, at least try to do it once a week. Do the best that you can do. Vibrate higher. Raise your conscious awareness. Read the Bible. Don't interpret everything literally, but ask the Most High to help you interpret it, because you need the gift of discernment. We are at spiritual warfare, and you must know how to engage the enemy on the battlefield with spiritual powers, being the mind, the heart, the soul, and the spirit. With that all being said, I love you all like cooked food, and I will talk to you all again soon. Peace.